Okay, so the live streaming isn't working to the page I wanted to do, so I will just make the recording and post it later. Close Facebook and everything else. Right. Hello. Welcome to my workshop on Dream Job UN. I'm not working for the UN anymore. I'm a private coach, a mentor, a communications trainer. There are no guarantees. Everything I say is coming from my personal experience. I will be recording. I am recording this session. So please keep your camera and microphone off for the first hour. Place any questions in the chat and we can open up for discussion after the first session. Interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values. That's what I think the UN represents and potentially offers. This workshop is for people interested in working at the United Nations, ordinary people who are attracted to the idea of working globally in an international environment, contributing to establishing, maintaining, and nurturing peace. This is a brief introductory workshop, and we'll look at who works at the United Nations, what do they do, where are they, what is the UN anyhow, what types of jobs are available at the UN, how long can you work at the UN, where is the UN, how do you get a job at the UN, what are the working conditions at the UN. In this live online session, you will discover these ordinary people are fluent in English. English is the working language of the United Nations, so you need to have English as one of your languages. If it is your mother tongue, you have a certain advantage in your working environment. However, in your application process, it is not necessarily a disadvantage when it is not your first language. The United Nations is funded by the member states' contributions according to the categorization of the nation and the population. And it is required to hire a certain number of people according to the member states, that according to the contribution that the member state is making. So therefore, if your country is making a big contribution to the United Nations, then the United Nations will also be employing a certain number of people from your country. So even if English is not your first language, you may have a good chance in the application process simply because of the country that you come from, especially if your country is making a major contribution and there are not many people from your country in the total sphere of people working in the United Nations. So you do need English, and there are 6 official working languages: Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian, and Spanish. So if any one of these is your mother tongue, then you will also have an advantage in your application process. So do not be discouraged. You do need English. If you have one of the other official languages, you have an advantage in your application process. If you have more than 1 or 2 of the official languages, you are bumped up even higher in your priority in the categorization of your application when you are prioritized when your application is being considered. So the other languages also come in handy when you're in a working environment, because the United Nations is working everywhere. So if you have a language of a particular area where a particular project needs to be implemented, you will have the advantage in the application process when you have that language. So people come from everywhere and anywhere, and they have studied and are eager to invest their competence by interacting with others to solve problems. So what have they studied? What is the level of application of education? I'm going to jump my notes and introduce myself. I'm your mentor, Lily Gundaka. I work with people who love to work at the United Nations. As a former data assistant at the International Atomic Energy Agency in Vienna, I just love the international atmosphere. I love working with people from different cultures, different religions, different backgrounds, and contributing to really doing something to help people all around the world. People at the UN called me a networker and bridge builder. And with all the experience I got while working at the UN, I can support you in your next career step and guide you through the application process so that you'll have a much bigger chance to land your dream job. Without being arrogant, I would postulate that people who work at the UN are very special. Sometimes they are also very specialized. You may find it hard to relate to someone at the UN whose specialty is very different from your own. My specialty was data management, also communication and relationships. As I said at the beginning, there are no guarantees. Nothing is a given. You can't tell in advance how things are going to turn out, who you are going to work with, and what type of people you are going to get in your team, what type of boss you are going to get. In my specialty as a data management, also communication and relationships, I was recommended to become the Staff Association representative for my division, the Division of Nuclear Security in the IAEA, in the Staff Council. I was recognized as someone who communicated and connected to people. I was working with nuclear physicists and scientists, policemen and lawyers, Navy captains, and IT specialists. I could often point my colleagues to the right person that could help them in their present dilemma. As the data assistant, I also had an overview of everybody in our division because I was responsible for maintaining the data, and we were at that time working on setting up a new computer system which needed a lot of attention, and my primary job was in getting that set up and off the ground. So every new person that joined the division came through my area of work, and sometimes I would talk to my colleagues that I was working with in my immediate work environment and name somebody who had perhaps joined our division a few days ago or a few months ago or even a year ago. They didn't even know this person existed. It was my area of expertise. I made it my business, but it was my passion to connect. And my data was not just information in my office on my computer. It was the relationships. And I made a point of going to meet these people and I knew their names and their data and how their names were spelled and what country they came from, but I came to recognize who they were face to face. What I really valued was being part of a team. My IT colleagues especially valued my eye for detail and my sharp sensitivity and logical capacity to understand what other people may be perceiving when confronted with a particular situation. I really appreciated the other colleagues who had so many languages that just struck me in awe. Then I was the one with the German language competence, which here at the VIC is the host country language. So you can see people in the UN come from many different places. They have a lot of different competencies, skills, characteristics. Now, how far did I get through my list of the introductory workshop? We'll look at who works at the United Nations. What do they do? Where are they? What is the UN anyhow? What types of jobs are available at the UN? How long can you work at the UN? Where is the UN? How do you get a job at the UN? What are the working conditions? Now, I want you to look at your own desire. Why are you here? Why did you join this workshop? What was it? Now, at the United Nations, we are sometimes challenged by many different things hitting us at once. Some people manage to focus on one thing and have a certain tunnel vision. In fact, I often got the impression that many people had tunnel vision and didn't know what else was going on. And yet we need to be able to cope with a lot of different things going on at the same time. Now, you don't have to know everything, but you need to create a good team. You need to be capable of teamwork. Sometimes this even happens outside of the formal job situation. I was very involved with NGO activities at the UN before I got my job at the IAEA. Now I'm still supporting the Toastmasters Club as a core member. Sometimes we even have to work with people from a former enemy country. Often we need to travel to all corners of the earth. And nuclear security conferences start on Sundays in some countries, which means you have to travel on Friday and set up on Saturday, so no weekends. Many of my colleagues still working there today are telling me that they are expected to do more and more and more. There are new programs being introduced all the time. So what is your motivation? Why do you want to work at the UN? Is it a dream job? Is it the prestige? The diplomatic status? The pay? The international travel? What are your core values? Do you want to promote your interpersonal relationship talents? Do you want to use your language skills? Allow your genius to serve the world. Contribute to the SDGs. Join a great team. To work at the UN, you need to be clear in your motivation and identify your strengths. Gain the confidence that you need. Check out the websites. Do your homework. Apply for the jobs you feel qualified for. Do the interviews. So, who are these people that work at the UN? If you're in this workshop, I assume you have done some homework or have some prior experience, knowledge, expertise, or idea. If not, I recommend you have a look at the website and start. Because if you have not done any of your homework in preparation for a job interview, then you will need to polish up on some of these aspects. But maybe you're here because the title just struck you and it had never occurred to you before, and you're wondering, who works at the UN? What do they do? What about me? Could I do that? Which website? What are you talking about? So firstly, you just type into Google UN. I'll give you the address. The United Nations website is un.org. Here in Vienna, we have the unodc.org, unido.org, iaea.org. When you do a Google search, you'll come up with thousands and thousands, and I think every day even more and more websites. So there's a lot of overwhelming information, and you may just want to come somewhere for a little bit more support, mentoring, communication and understanding from someone who can take your hand and help you through the information overload. Where is the United Nations? There are 4 major offices, headquarters: Vienna, New York first, Geneva, Vienna, and Nairobi, as well as many other offices around the world. When you do a search on a website for the United Nations, you will come across the whole range of jobs. And when I discovered that my colleague started as a salesperson in the commissary, which is the shop available for the staff members at the Vienna International Center, the UN in Vienna, it blew my mind. You could start off as a salesperson and end up being an implementation assistant. We have medical doctors, scientists, nuclear physicists. So I'm talking to you about my personal experience from the IAEA. There are people working for world peace in the United Nations family in every single type of job imaginable, because we in the United Nations are getting involved in all of these areas around the world. So we need professionals, we need managers, we need directors, we need administrative staff, people who can put it all together. Some people say it's the G staff that do all the work and the P staff that do all the travel and the talking. It's important to really create an effective teamwork, to be able to work together and create an environment where we respect one another and cooperate with one another. To see a range of professions at the UN, you can go to any of the international organizations and do a search. The UN hires all types of professions and tradespeople and administrative staff. The categorization of the staff, of the jobs, into professional and administrative is actually changing in some areas. There's more of a tendency to focus on the peace staff as more and more of the administrative programs and activities are becoming automated and computerized. However, there are many G staff who are very, very happy to stay in their positions categorized as only administrative, simply because they have a different type of job security and they are quite happy staying in their position in the host country without what occurs in the IAEA, the compulsory rotation after 7 years. The IAEA, being a technical organization, is constantly looking to bring in new experienced people who are at the latest, at the cutting edge of research, science, technology, and what's happening in the real world. So there is a constant influx of new people coming in to the IAEA, and the professionals are obliged to rotate through this system. The G staff are excluded from that situation, and many of my very, very well qualified colleagues who joined the agency as G staff are quite happy to stay in this area of stability simply because of their stage of life and their family situation. For young, upwardly mobile professionals who really want to travel and get around, the P staff stint at the IAEA is an excellent opportunity to pep up your CV, to get a job later on in any other areas, even though you may find that your areas of expertise are very, very narrow. And if you do your stint at the IAEA, you will attain a very high level of competence, which will have a lot of value in your CV. So what is the UN? It's not just the IAEA, and it's not even, Vienna is not even the first or the second headquarters of the United Nations. So if you're thinking about United Nations, what do you think when you hear United Nations? According to the current website, what the UN does, I'm going to share my PowerPoint, and I'm getting a bit nervous as I check to see what is going to really be shared now. And I'm going to share my screen, and it's going to be screen 1, share, and go into my slideshow from the beginning. So the Dream Job UN, this is the workshop that you're in right now. And according to the UN, according to the current website, what the UN does, due to the powers vested in its charter and its unique international character, the United Nations can take action on the issues confronting humanity in the 21st century, including maintaining international peace and security, protecting human rights, deliver humanitarian aid, promote sustainable development, uphold international law. Now you can find all that on the website, so why waste my time talking about this? You need to do your homework. You need to really be aware of what's going on, and then also be aware how to use your resources, your relationships, the situations that you come into to get the mentoring, the support that you need or want to further your career. Did you know that the only universal global organization, the United Nations, has become the foremost forum to address issues that transcend national boundaries and cannot be resolved by any one country acting alone? Now, when you do your homework, your research, and look at the structure of the United Nations, it can be overwhelming. Is it important? Depends. When you're working within one of these structures, you may need to know the interactions, the interrelationships between them, or you may have just your little niche where you can work comfortably in your situation. However, as I was working with my NGO before I started working at the IAEA, I discovered that many of my colleagues had no clue about the structure of the UN or how things worked, and it's helpful. But I'm not here going to go into all of that in this short presentation about Dream Job UN. I came up with this topic because for me, it worked. It was. I discovered that when I came into this situation to work for the United Nations, I'm going to stop sharing there. It was after applying for many, many years. I sent off hundreds of applications. If you want a job at the United Nations, my first tip for you would be apply. If you have not applied, then maybe that's why you're here, because you're feeling insecure. Maybe you don't know if you're good enough, if you're capable, if you're qualified, if you should. So I'm offering a free assessment talk, and I will send you an email afterwards when you have left your information with me, and also on my LinkedIn profile and on my website, you can book a free assessment call with me to hear about my mentoring program. And then you can see for yourself whether this is something that will really help you or not. Now, if you are watching this later on and have not been able to participate live, then you will have probably already received some of this information and can make a decision for yourself. And perhaps you've already done some of your homework and looked at the other opportunities and come up with more specific questions. What do you really want to know? What is your real question? So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. Oops, section 1. So we went over the structure, which you can find on the United Nations. And I asked this question: did you know that as the world's only truly universal global organization, the United Nations has become the foremost forum to address issues that transcend national boundaries and cannot be resolved by any one country acting alone? So if that's your passion, if you want to be a part of that forum addressing issues, transcending national boundaries, and can think beyond your own nation, even to serve an enemy nation, then maybe this is the right place for you to be. Now, these are all things you can discover for yourself through internet research. I'm a retired data assistant from the International Atomic Energy Agency, and the IAEA is in Vienna. The Vienna International Center is affectionately called UNO City by the Viennese. Most people think of the UN building in New York. When you just talk about United Nations, you think New York? Or do you think Nairobi? Do you think Thailand, Bangkok, Singapore? Did you know there are offices in Paris, in Italy? The UN is all over the world. So the situation here in Vienna was such that 30 years ago, when the United Nations building opened up, there was no internet, and people were looking to be recruited, and many of my colleagues got their job by recommendation of a friend of a friend. Somebody was working in the office and they needed more people to help to work. And they asked their friends, do you know somebody who can do this, who can do that? And it was personal recommendation. This still happens in the United Nations recruiting process. There are situations where some people come in through personal recommendation. However, the general recruitment process is through the websites where the jobs are advertised, and mostly, almost all the jobs have to be advertised. Let me just finish through the presentation. Okay, that's my last. Okay, I'll stop there with my presentation. One back. You can come through the recruitment process, and the UN is obliged to advertise the positions all over the world to really find the best candidate in the world. And the recruitment process is fair. Many people think it isn't fair. When you apply for a job, you need to look at the job criteria and look at your own qualifications and make sure that you clearly say that you match those qualifications. And as soon as you are the right match, when you are qualified, when you reach the must-haves, and when you have the should-haves or could-haves or would be nice to have, then the UN is obliged to funnel you through that application process. But now, because the jobs are not just friends of the boys, but through the internet, through the international recruitment process, then you may be asked to go to an Sonru interview, a video interview, where you won't even have a partner on the other side. You will have a series of questions and you'll have to talk. So maybe these last 2 years with Corona, we've had that experience, that training that we need to be able to talk to a camera, a screen, and to make our presentations. Years ago, when I was making those applications, it was not normal. It was not normal to talk to a computer when you were applying for a job. And in that sense, so many things have changed so much in the United Nations, and even the types of jobs that are available. Now, I've promoted my mentorship program through LinkedIn, yet my own mentor focuses on Facebook. Now, funny thing, when I joined the UN, we were warned about spending too much time on Facebook because that was not work time, right? But a couple of years afterwards, the UNODC had their Facebook page and was promoting all of their activities. And I saw my colleagues, I only went in at lunchtime, I saw my colleagues had been on Facebook the whole day. So times have changed, and sometimes your profile, your job description may require that you be active in social media. So if you think Facebook is not professional enough, it may depend on what your profession is. And it's important to be open-minded. As I said at the very beginning, look at your motivation? Why? Why do you want to work at the UN? What is your core motivation? Why do you want to get this job? And is it because it's in New York? Is it because it's going to take you away from where you are and give you a new opportunity? Or is it because of the area of interest, the work where you have trained, international relations, and you like to work with people from different countries? Or international law, or in the medical field, or currently the big focus on the environment? Are you a vegan and you're really concerned about greening our planet? Things have changed so quickly, so much in the United Nations. Sometimes we in the United Nations think it's much slower than the rest of the world, because actually our relationships are so intercultural, international, and we need to have respect and understanding for our international relations. And some things cannot change quite as quickly as they do in a local monoculture. So you might find in your own environment, wherever you live, that things change very, very quickly. In the United Nations, I would dare to say that things don't change quite as quickly as they would in a local environment, but I would also dare to say things have changed a lot in the last 10 years. So in 2009, when I got my job, after applying for nearly 10 years, I was a communications trainer and had just set up my own business when I finally got my invitation to come in for an interview. And my job offer was just a short-term contract, which put me in a dilemma because I had just set up my business and I had to put it on hold to take on the job offer. And it was just a 3-month contract. It was extended for 1 month. And then I couldn't go back to my other project in the same way that I was in the midst of it. But I really wanted to work at the United Nations, and I got another job offer. The reason that short-term contract expired was because it was just a replacement for somebody in a temporary situation, and there was no funding for that particular position. But I had made my mark. I had made an impression. I had made a good impression, and I was recommended for the next post, which was then on a roster system. So the next job I got was also a short-term contract for 6 months. Still zero job security. That's why I really urge you to check very, very carefully what is your motivation. I wanted to be in this international environment. I wanted to work with people from different countries, different religions, different backgrounds, to build world peace, to promote interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values. And I was asked, it wasn't offered directly, I was asked after my 4-month stint if I would be prepared to work at part-time, half-time, 50%, in other words, a wage cut of 50%, and at a grade lower. I thought they meant both, 50% of what I had plus a grade lower, which meant less than 50%. And I was passionate. I wanted to stay in that environment. Now, I don't know anybody else who has had 13 contracts in 10 years. That was my situation. It meant that every 2 years, I was out of the system and re-recruited after initially it was just a 1-month break. And then they changed the rules and it had to be a 1-year break. And that's when they finally advertised my position, which had originally been designed as a short-term temporary assistance for the implementation of the new computer program, which I talked to colleagues last week, has still not been properly, completely, successfully implemented, but it works. And I reached a certain age where they could no longer employ me as a full-time staff member. So I'm really passionate and happy to help other younger people to get in there, and especially young women and mothers. I did not start at the UN at a young age. I was a mother. I am a mother of 5 children. I spent 10 years at home taking care of my children full time while I was working for my husband, who was a traveling salesman. So I entered the UN workforce quite late, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity that I had. But I told you to check your values. My values were family, family first. And I managed to have my family and get my job at the UN. And honestly, today, men and women have even greater opportunities of combining family and United Nations work life. That's only one of the things that have really changed over the 10-year period that I've been working there. And I'm so inspired at the opportunities that are there. And I just want to get those good people who really want to do something and contribute to make the world a better place, and know that we need to start with the instruments that we have. When we improve what we have and make them work, then we are much better off than if we try to destroy everything that we disagree with. Because the destruction is time-consuming, expensive, damaging, very difficult to recover from. And we have the precious opportunities today to do so much more. So I'm going to, I have to apologize, even if you haven't been able to watch this live from the beginning due to communication issues or technical issues. My current situation is also technical, where my website and a few other things have had a few technical issues. So within a few days or a week, I will be re-establishing my website on a new domain, and I will post the information. You can currently still book an appointment with me for an assessment talk at the current domain, lily.thumb-gundaka.eu. You will find my current offer for the Dream Job UN workshop, this workshop, and the assessment talk. And I will be migrating all that to a new domain, dreamjobun.eu, where I will post all the information where we can go further and take the next steps. So that was all that I had in terms of my presentation, and I'll open up here for questions. And I'm still recording, but it's not going anywhere live at the moment, so I can cut anything out, and you can turn on your camera if you like and ask your questions in person. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lily, for the nice presentation. It was very interesting, your story and how you get there. And also you provided us a lot of information about UN. If I can have a question, I would be grateful. Mm-hmm. So I'm also applying at the Atomic Agency for several years. For me, this agency would fit to my qualification because I'm a chemist, and then I did a PhD in biophysics and cell biology. And because this is one of my dream job to enter the IA, that's why I also started the medical physics education here at the Medical University in Vienna. And this is everything about nuclear radiation biology, radiotherapy, radiodiagnostics, and so on. So I have also a lot of experience from the academia and also from the private sector. And yes, I applied several jobs. But the main issue that I never had any job interviews. No call for a job interview. And I don't know where should I improve on the cover letter, maybe the nationality. Maybe I start the camera. I have double nationality. I speak 4 languages, but I don't know which nationality would be better to apply, because I think there are a lot of Hungarians and also a lot of Romanians. So there are some questions, but I don't know. And I really would like to improve on the whole procedure, but I don't know where to start.
From my experience with the recruitment process, I know very clearly that, I mean, I used to think, yeah, I'm being overlooked on purpose, or I don't know what's wrong, or you need friends. And then once I got in, and I had other friends asking me to recommend them, some of my colleagues at HR told me that was counterproductive, that did not help. Mm-hmm. If you had somebody pushing for you in a particular way, if you were not really qualified. And yet others, when it was a position that was really difficult to fill, they were very grateful for a recommendation. And now, because I have worked there, I have realized in every application you have to give 2 referees. You have to give 2 names of 2 people.
Yes.
And I've realized in this one particular case, this one person that I recommended, he got to the interview, but then he didn't get the job. And the funny thing was, I noticed in my work with him, there was a lot of typos, grammar and spelling mistakes. Now, we have, in the administrative area, we have a lot of checkups and checkpoints, but if somebody is constantly making the same mistakes over and over, it's very difficult. And I think at the very beginning I mentioned there is a really, really high standard. And I'm not being arrogant, but I really noticed these people, they have certain capacity and they really know how to do things so well. So you are competing on a very, very high level. But if you meet the qualifications that are in the job description, you know, they have the necessary, the must-have, and the what nice to have. And if you match that, then the program automatically selects you into the first selection process. And if they have more than 5 key candidates who reach the core values, then they usually go through the next selection process, which is a computer interview. And if you haven't even been invited to that yet, then I would look at the way you are filling out your applications and really try to match the wording in the job description with your own description of the jobs that you've been doing, to show that you are actually doing that work, that you have the skills necessary that are required for that particular job.
Okay, because it's when there is a job description and for example at this Taleo homepage, then there are the functions, the key results expected, and also the competencies and the expertise. So in the motivation letter, sometimes I was confused, should I focus with my expertise on this function and keys, or on the competencies or experiences to cover, because yes, I know if it's not, let's say, covered 80% of the requirements, then they even don't call the person for the interview. So I was not sure to which part should I
the cover letter, yes, but also in your job experience, if you can show that you have matching skills that you have already displayed and portrayed in the job that you've already done, that you have already done this that they require, that you already literally fulfill the requirement. If they can see that, they look for they do the search for the key words, for the expertise and the qualifications that they want. The characteristics that they put in there are what they're looking for, and they become the search criteria, and it's an automated process. And if you match, you will be filtered into that selection process. Then they will do the personal evaluation and look at the motivation letter.
Okay, thank you. This is very useful information. Okay, so actually the motivation letter comes much later, so better to show already the fitting experience before in the application.
And make sure that you can really say that if they want a postgraduate degree in nuclear physics, then make sure that you can clearly state that you have that.
Okay, and my other question, that with my qualification, sometimes I don't know what kind of or which level of job should I apply, because somebody even from the HR department, they said that I should keep apply professional jobs around P1, P2, but another person also from the agency, they said that this is too low, so I should go to the P3, P4. So I'm confused, because sometimes I write for lower, sometimes for higher, and this is also a bit contradictory.
If you feel this is again your motivation and your passion, and if you feel, when the P3 means 5 years of experience and you have 7 years of experience, why not?
Why not? Okay.
Why not? People have come into the agency in director positions with 0 United Nations experience. How they get in there, there's always some of them are political posts, and that's another way to get a job. Become a diplomat for your country, and you will be the member state representative. Then you can work at the UN. There's hundreds of ways to get a job at the UN.
Yeah, but I'm not in this field. I'm really in science. I don't have big connections. I'm part of a woman in nuclear, but I don't have anyone who is pushing me, so I do this initiative. But I push myself. I really would like, and I don't give up, so constantly keeping my eyes open and constantly applying. And so
apply for everything that you feel qualified for, because then in the interview you have to come there and be confident, and you have to show that you can do that job. And then you may have to be in the position where you are working with people who have been in the agency for 10 years, who have applied for the job that you got and don't believe that you are good enough. You have to just believe in yourself and know that you are qualified, and then win in your relationships, in your personal characteristics, in your communication style, to get the cooperation of those team members, that they realize, yes, you have had all of this outside outside experience, which is in a sense more valuable than their internal experience. But it's not easy.
Not easy.
You have to know, if you want that, it's a hard job.
It's a hard work, yeah.
There are hundreds of applications. There are internal candidates. They look at the internal candidates first, but in no way do they have that priority over the external candidates. And don't stop applying for the positions if you feel qualified. Absolutely apply for them.
Yeah, I will keep looking. And I also offered to the women in nuclear that I will give them a presentation about what I did in the past. It will be not so scientific. I would like to focus more on the woman in science, what kind of challenges we have, what kind of barriers, and because of the family and kids, we face some issues, and about different scholarships and changing transfer in career. So I would like to speak about this one, because this is everybody interested in. But so, okay, thank you.
But the other thing is also visibility. When you are involved with women in nuclear, you make a presentation. When people recognize your expertise, then you also bump up your people's awareness that you are there and that you are capable. And
yes.
If you're not, you gain the experience, and then the next time you will be better. So don't hesitate.
Exactly, because maybe they know my name, but they don't know my face, and they don't know exactly my background. So I thought that this is a good opportunity to get in touch with people. So yeah,
definitely, yeah.
And the language is also an advantage, but these 4 languages that I speak, except of the English, they are not the official UN languages. So do you think this is still good to speak more languages?
Yes, well, you see, there is the place where you have to fill that out, and we are constantly in situations where people, you know, the scientists, they travel to all of these countries. The office next door, the guy was going to Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and I don't know where else, and he didn't speak the language, so I don't know how he managed. But if you have the language for these areas, then it is definitely an advantage. So long as you can communicate in English with your colleagues and peers, any other language to communicate with the member states in the mission is always an advantage.
Okay. No, good. So
yeah, we can.
But I think we will talk later.
We can talk later, and I'll send the information out, and we can connect again and keep in touch.
Yes. I already have been on one of your workshops, which was also organized by Wien in the UN. That was also great about the communication.
I think I was looking for the video of that, because at the time I said I'm not going to publish it, but now, because I'm doing this mentoring program, I need references. I need people who can say, yes, I did a good job. So that's why I approached you and asked for if I can use your reference, but I didn't find the video recording. But if you'd like to write me a recommendation, then I'd really appreciate it. Yeah. Or even
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be great. Yeah, just send me. That's not a problem. Thanks.
Great. Okay. Yeah, that was great to see you, Timea. Yeah. And your
Thank
baby
you so
sleeping?
much. And the baby, in the meantime, the babysitter arrived, so she took over. Yes, he's 5 months, almost 6 months old, and I plan to stay home 1 year. So in November, or I go back to my old job. But in the meantime, I keep applying anyway. I know that at UN it takes a lot of time. So
exactly, it takes a long, even once you've had the interview, it still takes months. I mean, you make your application, you don't hear from them for a year, and then a year later they invite you for an interview, and then 6 months later they tell you, and sometimes they don't tell you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, I'm not bored even if I'm home with the kid because I do this university, this medical physics. So now tomorrow I have exam, and exam period is coming. Then I do 2 other trainings with the IA. Yeah, so I do everything, but it's very difficult with the baby.
Yeah, everything it's your passion. You need to just clarify, what do I really want?
Yeah, exactly.
And it will work. It will work when you really know.
It will work. Yeah,
it will work out. Awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, Celia, great. Awesome. You like to say something?
Yeah. Good morning, Lily. Good morning, Timea. Sorry for being late.
So time confusion, huh? This international time.
Yeah, exactly. I was supposed to start at 9, so I decided to connect at 8:30.
We have summer time in
to be
Vienna.
on time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely I was late. Sorry for that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Lily, for this opportunity to mentor people which are struggling to get on board on UN system. I perfectly recognize myself in what Timmy has said. Since a couple of years, I'm applying to FAO, to UN environment, because I have a background of agric engineer, and I continue my training with 2 masters and 1 PhD in environmental management. And I'm working with IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature, since more than a decade. So after that, now I want to give a new trajectory or phase to my career. So I'm applying to jobs into UN systems, but definitely even no interview. I did 2 interviews with FAO, but the last one was in 2017, in fact, for a position in P4. Since then, nothing.
You know, if you got
from what you said, come again.
If you got invited to
come
the
again,
interview,
please, Lily.
If you got invited to the interview, that means you were qualified. Yeah. Because if they did not invite you for the interview, you would not have reached their threshold. So if you are applying for P4 and you were invited, it means there's a match.
Yeah.
So you need to, so have the confidence, I am qualified. Yeah. So
good.
I am qualified because I was invited to the interview. I would not be invited to the interview if I was not qualified. So that's a confidence measure. And then examine the jobs that you're applying for and the way that you have your profile. Just try to match the job description characteristics, the skills and expertise required, and express those same things in the jobs that you've already been doing so that the match is even better. You need to go to get invited again to interviews. There's no guarantee to get the invitation to the interview. There's no guarantee to get the job after you get the interview, but you need to keep applying. And if you really want that job, then you need to believe and just be determined and be clear in your motivation and keep trying. Perseverance.
Yeah, I think that, you touch a very important point, the motivation and even the profile, how to present it.
Mm-hmm.
Because since then, even on P3, P2, I was applying, but definitely even no interview.
Yeah.
So I'm seriously currently, asking myself what is wrong. What is wrong?
Yeah, but if you had the interview on the P4 level, then that says you were
5 years ago.
Yeah. So
okay.
It depends.
Okay.
You know, things change. The department heads change. The HR changes. Sometimes the job even changes. The situation in the job itself changes. Sometimes sometimes you really get pulled in for the interview simply because they have one dream candidate internally that they already want to put in that position, but they have to interview someone from outside before they can prove to the board that their candidate is the best one. So it's even possible that you become the token to prove that my person was better. You know, that's possible. But if you stay in there, I don't know if that was my case, but I remember after applying hundreds of times, and then I met the HR manager in the corridor, and she recognized me and she asked me, "Oh, Lily, how are you doing in your new job?" It was after I had a change from one to the next. And she said, "Oh, I thought we would have something there for you where you would fit in well." And I thought, oh, you know, she rejected me 100 times, but what she said was, "Oh, I thought we would have something that would fit." So don't underestimate every effort that you make every time you show your face or your profile. Don't underestimate it. It's a matter of persevering and being determined, knowing that's where you're meant to be, and keep going.
Okay, so when I saw your invitation for this call, I was really happy because currently I am preparing to apply for a new position at UN Environment. This will be closed by the end of this month. So I will be preparing the motivation and also the profile. I don't know, you, Lily, which kind of support, which kind of help could you provide?
The mentoring program, I'm setting that up. I'll discuss that in the assessment talk, and it's basically a 3 or 4 month program accompaniment where I can provide you the guidance, the motivation training, and the other accompanying for a 4 to 6 month period according to what you're interested in, what type of support you're looking for. But we can talk about that in the assessment talk. So if you book an appointment with me, then we can talk about that individually and have a look and see what's available, what's possible. I do that on a one-to-one basis.
So what we could do, we could connect after this meeting and we look at the deadline of the position and see whether I could wait or not. But I really need to have again your thought and your opinion in how my application is formulated.
Did you look at my website? There's a link to the calendar where you can book an appointment with me. There was one link to this workshop, and there was another link to the calendar. The workshop link doesn't work now, like I said, technical issues. But the link to the calendar should be working. If not, I also gave my email address down the bottom. You can reach me on my email. Also, the notification with the Zoom is my email address. So you can reach out to me there and we can make an appointment and have a Zoom session, an assessment talk.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Lily.
Yeah.
I really appreciate
this mentoring program is for a group or it's individual?
Starting one-to-one and
one-to-one.
later on it might be in group, but at the moment it's one-to-one.
Okay, but actually, if somebody doesn't want to make this a mentorship, it's also possible to have a one session talk with you on a specific.
The first session is anyhow, you know, a free assessment talk, and we can discuss what's possible.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's great.
Okay.
Because maybe maybe from outside there is, you know, just one trick, you know, and we don't know, and maybe we keep making the same errors and mistakes. So would be good if somebody with your experience could look at maybe at our application or talk in details about the experience or education what we have. So yeah, sometimes maybe it's too much what I'm writing. Some maybe would be better to focus on just the most important things and reduce a little bit the text. Maybe just too much. I don't know.
Yeah, I would also want to come back again on the issue that Demia already raised. Because when discussing with some people, they tell me, no, Arsene, you cannot enter the UN system at the higher level. Try to enter through the lowest level. So that's sometimes push me to even apply to P2s with more than 15 years of experience.
Yeah, I don't
know whether this is also appreciated by the UN or the recruitment people. I don't know whether this is a good idea. So
yeah, that's why I really say check your motivation. What is, do you want to have a high position for lots of pay and recognition and responsibility, or do you want to really get into the UN system? You know, so if your priority is just to get into the system, then apply for all the jobs that you are qualified for and go through the interview process. You will learn through the procedure if you are invited to the interviews or not, and they make you the offer. Personally, I believe once you're in, it's easier to progress and to get further. And I know some people say you can't enter in on the top level, and yet we recruit managers and directors and DDGs at the top level, political appointment. The other situation is sometimes the member state will give the extra support. So if you approach the embassy in the country where the UN mission is and tell them what you want to do and you get their support, they can also make a recommendation on your behalf. And if they have any clout and they have, the member states are making donations, contributions to the UN, and sometimes that's important to keep the member states happy, and therefore they do recruit those people from those particular countries who are recommended by the embassy. There's a lot of things going on that we are usually not aware of, but yeah, that's a little bit too much to cover all in this one short talk. But don't check your motivation, clarify what do you really want and what are you prepared to pay for it. What are you prepared to, what price are you prepared to pay for what you really want? Because that's what it boils down to. You need to decide how important is it to me for this, and how much do I want it, and how much would I pay for it. So even my mentoring program, it's also a situation. You make a decision, you decide, I can't guarantee you it. I'm not in HR, I'm not in recruitment. If I believe in you, and if you enter a mentoring program with me, it will be only because I really believe in you. Then I would be happy to have my name on your application as a referee. You only have two names on your application process, and I'm passionate about getting good people into the UN, and for sure when I find those good people, I will want to support them and help them, and I'll put my name there. And when the UN realizes, hey, these people from Lily are really top quality people, then I can see things can really move, you know, and I don't expect anything to move fast right now. I don't expect any rapid results. You know, even in a 6-month mentoring program, I can't guarantee within that time that the process is even completed. But I do believe that we need to be clear in our own motivation. What do I really want? And what price am I prepared to pay for that, what I really want?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as I said, I'm offering
I
that
also want
free
to know.
assessment talk.
Yeah, I registered a couple of weeks ago in the UN pool roster. The UN pool.
Yeah.
Expert. So they send me an email informing me that they have opened a position of P5 on digital transformations. So they are encouraging me if I have the skills and the experience to apply. So yeah, but even after applying for P3, I was not able to get an interview. So I'm really wondering how to apply.
Don't get discouraged. If you got that information from them, from the system,
yeah,
then do it. Go for it. Check your profile, your application against what their requirements are. It might be the automated response when you apply, when you fill your profile and you tick the box to say, please notify me when there are similar positions that are available. It might be just the automated response. So you may have to look at whether it's true that you are really qualified for this position. And if you feel that even P5, that if you feel qualified and confident, then go for it. You have nothing to lose. You will only gain, even through an interview. When you don't get the job, the interview experience is the next step on the ladder. Get in there, make the application, get to the interview, and just keep going. And if you really want it and persevere long enough, then one day the match will be there and you'll get it. You're muted, Timia. I don't know.
Don't give up.
Thank you, Lily.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. It's encouraging to speak with Lily. Yeah.
Her positive.
Yeah. So I will
attitude.
definitely. Yeah, it's very encouraging, inspiring to speak with you, Lily. So the next phase, very quickly, I will try to set my application and get in touch with you, Lily, to see how my motivation is clear enough, is specific enough, and also my profile, how I get it very specific for the position I'm applying for.
Yeah. So
good.
Oh yeah.
I'm basically francophone, but I try with my English. I also hope that with that level of English, I can work with the UN.
From where? Where are you from? Where did you say you were from?
Burkina Faso.
Oh, okay.
Yes, from Burkina Faso in West Africa.
Okay, yeah. I had a colleague from there, but he went back home, so maybe.
But, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Okay, then I will place the recording. Okay, for both of you, do you mind if I use this part of the webinar also publicly, or you prefer that I cut after my content? It's not got, you know, it's not a big wide audience, but on my
Up to you,
Facebook
Lily. For
group-
me, up to you.
Okay, no, if you have no problems with being, that's the other thing, you know, for me also, visibility is for many people, they don't want people to see them. But when you are visible, then people will also become more aware and maybe recognize, hey, that's exactly the person I was looking for. Yeah. So if you have no objections, I won't be irresponsible with this material, but I may use it for reference and to post on my webpage or on the Facebook group. So if you have any objections there, you just let me know and I can cut bits out. So that's fine.
I mean, I don't know if it would be good if my employees and colleagues would know if I'm looking for another job, and that's why. I mean, the problem that everybody's on Facebook, and I do this privately. So because I also don't know, you know, if I could risk my job because I have a permanent job, and so maybe it's not good.
Understood.
But what I could offer that I can write on your for your homepage a nice reference.
Yep, fine.
And
we can be in touch separately. Yeah. Right.
And we can talk privately, just you and me in the future, because I would like to continue the communication with you.
Yeah, we can. So I'll post the information. You have my contact details, and we'll see the next steps in a week or so, or however quickly you act to see what happens. Yeah. Okay. Then that's, I think.
Okay. Thank you.
And thank you for joining my workshop.
Thank you very much.
There was a few others who will be watching the recording, so they will probably also have access to this part, but it's only going to be a closed group, and I'll.
That's not a problem. That's not a problem.
Okay. Good. Okay, then I wish you both a great day, and everybody else, thanks for joining my workshop. And
thank you.
Soon. Okay.
Keep in touch. Bye. Thanks.
Yeah, keep in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.